Oh, also there was this as well. They're getting far way comfortable inciting violence against anti-Zionist Jews. This is scary as Ben Lober says, following his Nazi salute, Steve Bannon engages in an unalloyed anti-Semitism, calling progressive U.S. Jews the #1 enemy inside the wire for Israelis. Progressive Jewish billionaires funding all this stuff, disloyal to Israel and MAGA. Interesting.
Where are you from?
I was born in Jerusalem. Folks from USSR, so that experience real socialism. My question is to you is this: what do you think about foreign aid to Israel? Is it a strategic partnership?
Israel is a partner of the United States, but people in Israel got to understand something. The #1 enemy to the people in Israel are American Jews that do not support Israel and do not support MAGA. Okay, MAGA and the evangelical Christians and the traditional Catholics in this country have Israel's back. They have the Jews' back. The biggest single enemy to the Jewish people are not the Islamic supremacists. The biggest enemy you have is inside the wire. Progressive Jewish billionaires.
The biggest enemy to Americans, the biggest enemy to Israel is American Jews, progressive American Jews. I mean, not completely incorrect when he says that from the perspective of a fascist government in Israel. Yeah, they also see it that way too, for sure. Can you please enable background audio? No, dude, what the I have a noise gate that's good for a reason. It's so that you don't hear my mouth noises and the hell?
That are funding all this.
Also, I don't know who a progressive billionaire is. That part is ridiculous. I think that's him trying to be the populist when he says progressive billionaire Jews. What a ridiculous thing to say.
Stuff. They are the #1 enemy, and the people in Israel got to have to set that right. Because MAGA has your back, traditional Catholics have your back, and evangelical Christians have your back. We will always have the back of Israel. But I got to tell you, you have an enemy inside the wire.
Insane. Bannon has always been a strategic coalition builder for MAGA and the global nationalist movement. That means naming the right enemies. To cement the dominant coalition between Christian nationalists and the Israeli and American Jewish right, dissenting Jewish voices must be neutralized. That means 80% of American Jews who oppose MAGA, and for most, Bibi, are labeled an enemy within, corroding the Judeo-Christian West through betraying Israel and funding progressive causes. Years of scapegoating Soros and globalists paved the way for this. And since 10/7, scapegoating groups like JVP has lent it a sharper edge. Many centrist liberal American Jewish leaders have certainly participated in the latter and so have helped undermine their own position, emboldening a MAGA movement arrayed against them as well. This is something that I actually talked about on the Bad Hasbara episode, where America is a nation built on Judeo-Christian values is a relatively new propaganda item. Okay, it's a post 9/11 statement. Before then, ain't nobody was saying that. Okay, so right-wing, ultra-Zionist or even liberal Zionist American Jews weirdly think that there is some semblance of allegiance here, not realizing that the Judeo part can be deleted from that conversation just as easily as it was slanted there. And it's very strange that it's just very strange to me that people don't realize that. And unironically, every single person who has a pro-Israeli sentiment that consistently ties what Israel is doing to Judaism because they think it's a solid defensive posture is unironically advocating for more anti-Semitism in this country. Okay? That's it. That's it. Israel, as it stands, is a far-right nationalist government. It does not matter what their religion is. That is all Israel is a ethno-nationalist, fascist government. So if you are a progressive Jew or Christian or Muslim, it doesn't fucking matter, and you look at that and you try to defend it, you are not realizing that you're playing a very dangerous game. This allegiance will not hold, okay? So I think it's important for people to reconsider this attitude. I think it's important for people to reconsider this attitude and really take a cold, hard look at their previous social conditioning that has dictated that like Zionism is an incredibly important part of your identity. When you got dudes who are Sig Heiling talking about how we got to eradicate these progressive Jews that are a threat to Israel. It's shocking that people don't understand. It's shocking that people don't understand that these guys are simply lying when they say, "Oh, we love Jews, we love Israel." I mean, they do love Israel, but they certainly don't love Jews. Okay? That's why what the ADL does is horrifying. At a time when anti-Semitism unironically is exploding, especially amongst the youth, and it certainly is, partially because their first interaction, aside from the underlying anti-Semitic opinions that people have, their first interaction is like television man telling them that, like, no, Israel is doing the baby murder and the baby slaughter for Judaism, and if you actually think that that's bad, if you actually think it's weird that we're giving, another $8 billion of weapons to Israel so they can kill babies more effectively, that actually is anti-Semitic, then people are going to be like, okay, well, why am I associating? Like, you're personally associating death, destruction, and violence with Judaism falsely. It's insane. It's a completely psychotic way to approach it. It's like if I, as a Muslim living in America, was running around being like, excuse me, ISIS is the true Islam, and you're being quite Islamophobic for not being on board with ISIS. And then people still come in here and hit this idiotic drama. Also, on the backlash on the trash taste vid, the internet hates you, dog. I know, man. What are you going to do? First of all, once again, the overwhelming majority of people who watch the podcast just watch the podcast. Do you think it's reflective when a 2-hour podcast is posted and instantly it's swarmed with thousands of comments from people who are like, I'm a longtime fan, even though they're writing, they haven't subscribed to the podcast at all, writing for the first time ever? Great. I'm glad that, I'm glad that you're in here to try and advance this cause, to be like, the internet hates you, dog. I know, dude. They certainly do. Except none of these content creators do, weirdly enough. And I never actually see it in the real world at all. I don't know what it is. Good thing it didn't get to you. What? See, this is, again, doubling down on the drama. No, actually, we did. We did it successfully. We did it successfully. We actually hurt him. You didn't, okay? Yeah, other episodes get 1,000 comments on average. This one already has 10,000 comments. Surely it's all Trash Days fans, and it's not being actively brigaded. It's not going to work, okay? It's not going to work. Anyway, initiatives like Project Esther, scapegoating the Palestine Solidarity Movement and the broader left, including Jewish left, as anti-Semites and civilizational enemies, serve the same function. Anti-Semitic conspiracies claiming to uncover the real anti-Semites, a maddening inversion. Yeah. Anyway, this is the new meta. Okay, it's just simply not going to, it's not, what is this? A searing and spot on indictment? Backsliding into fascism just 80 years after World War II is like failing an open book test in a room where the answers are written on the board and are also constantly being read out loud over a loudspeaker. Yep. Yeah. We got incredibly powerful dudes doing Nazi salutes on Maine, okay? And then other people also doing it just to, goad people into being like, look at how based I am. We're putting people in camps. We're gutting government agencies that can check their power. There's blatant racism everywhere, bigotry everywhere. Okay, and people's opinion, supposedly liberal and progressive people's mentality in this moment is about what one of the only successful progressive content creators is saying that they seemingly feel is not up to par with their way of seeing the world, only because I said that a genocidal apartheid state is bad. That's it. That's what this conversation is around. It's psychotic. You are a deeply unserious person. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are deeply unserious. But I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing, regardless of what people say. Okay? As I always say, history will vindicate me. It does not matter. And even if it doesn't, that means we've already lost. Okay? It's over. Yeah. I see so much Holocaust denial on TikTok. We're absolutely, dude. I told you guys about this before. Sometimes they're like, I'll see something on the For You page and I'm like, what the is this? People now have new ways of doing Holocaust denial. New ways of doing Holocaust denial. The new wave of Holocaust denial is saying 271,000. I assume that's what they claim the number of Jews that were killed during the Holocaust is, which, by the way, is obviously untrue. It's 6 million, except it doesn't even matter. Even if it was 271,000, that would still be completely unacceptable, but it doesn't matter. Because once again, Holocaust denial works and anti-Semitism works in the way that I described to you. Okay? Okay? Anti-Semitism and Holocaust denial and any matter of like different fascist politics works in the way that I described it earlier with the Sartre quote. Okay? It is not about the truth. It is about having you entertain this notion. It's about overwhelming you. It's about undermining your position. So I urge people to lock in. I do sometimes feel like I'm just out here not alone. Okay? There are plenty of other people as well, but like it does this space online, especially the political commentary space and the adjacent like drama communities are so primed to the right, are so unimaginably primed to the right that like the largest content creators or the largest figureheads of even like in the West of even the pro-Palestinian movement are seemingly all rugged anti-Semites. Holocaust is fake as bro. There you go. Okay, see, this is what I mean. They find themselves in here as well. If anything, this anti-Semitism is good in the sense that it exposes Israel's hypocrisy and will bring pressure on the apartheid. It's just that, what? No, what are you talking about? How are you so sure history will vindicate the Palestinians? History is written by the victors, not by who was the most moral or right. The do you mean? No, anti-Semitism does not actually cause people to understand what Israel is doing as a wrong thing. You have to be delusional if you think that. If the first principles that you apply in the situation are completely out of whack with logic, then you're not going to arrive at the correct position. No, the notion that like anti-Semitism will cause people to resent Israel is idiotic, especially because one, there are more anti-Semitic pro-Israel people in the United States of America and all around the world than there are Jewish people across the board, whether they are pro or anti-Israel. Okay? I've described this a million times over. Evangelical Zionism, comprised almost entirely of anti-Semitic people who are incredibly pro-Israel, is a far larger number of people than the number of total Jews on the planet, regardless of whether they're pro-Israel or anti-Israel. Okay? There is a reason why Benjamin Netanyahu feels so comfortable aligning with right-wing anti-Semitic fascists all around the globe, because it's short-term thinking that plays alongside the fascist nationalist project that Benjamin Netanyahu has. Okay? It's deeply associated with the existence of Israel. If anti-Semitism grows in the West, that means more Jewish people will think, oh, the only way we could survive after centuries of anti-Semitic purges, centuries of pogroms, and the Holocaust, the only way we can survive is if we're a strong nation that is constantly dominating others. The greatest threat to Israel is not Hamas, okay? The greatest threat to Israel is not anti-Semitic people. The greatest threat to Israel and the Israeli project, the Zionist project, is anti-Zionist Jews, or the entertaining the notion that perhaps Israel is not the safe place for Jews at all, and that Jews in the Western world are actually safe. Now, of course, understandably, many Jews in the Western world do not feel safe. They don't feel safe because anti-Semitism is rising. When they don't feel safe because anti-Semitism is rising, then lo and behold, they find themselves in the throes of all of the social conditioning that took place when they were growing up. This is a very dangerous gambit. Just like I said, I was correct, unfortunately, that Kamala Harris was entertaining a very dangerous gambit when she paraded Liz Cheney, thinking that they were going to be able to create a new coalition. And that failed in spectacular capacity. The notion that this false association of Israel and Judaism will actually create even a stronger position for Israel to exist in the violent ways that it does, as in an apartheid state conducting a genocide, and that this will continue, and that this growing anti-Semitism will never turn on Zionist Jews by ironically or not anti-Zionist, sorry, but ironically anti-Semitic evangelical Christian Zionists is silly. One day, they will force you at gunpoint to go live in Israel. Whether you don't want to live there or not doesn't matter. One day they'll say, why are these guys in so many powerful positions in the media and in the banking system? We should just send them all to Israel. You will not be going back voluntarily to Israel. You will be going at gunpoint to Israel. Okay? That's where all of this anti-Semitism goes. Okay? It's shocking to me that people don't see this. Most of the Jews want to live in Israel. Yeah, okay. How can you say ISIS is the same as Zionism? What did you think about the Bibas family? How can you say that ISIS is the same as Zionism? I can say it because ISIS is a non-state actor, as a militant apparatus, was also engaging in a form of colonialism, destroying monuments, dominating the entire population in incredibly violent ways. Israel has done the exact same shit that ISIS has done. And ISIS also was a false claimer of Islam, just like Israel is a false claimer of Judaism. What do you mean? That's why it's so funny when Israel was like, oh, Hamas is ISIS. Like, remember post-October 7, they were like, Hamas is ISIS over and over again. Israel is infinitely closer to both ISIS in ideology and the way that they operate, but also Israel has aligned with ISIS rebel groups in Syria actively. They've actually given medical coverage to ISIS fighters. They've literally given guns to ISIS. ISIS was pretty much claiming living space like Israel and the Nazis. Yeah, exactly. But good luck. Good luck explaining that concept to an American who go, well, ISIS is Muslim and bad. They don't hate ISIS for being a violent colonial apparatus. They hate ISIS because they're Muslim. It's crazy. Okay? They don't understand that, like, it's not the Islam part. It's not even a real interpretation of Islam anyway. It's the death, destruction that makes them bad. It's the forcible enslavement of people and murder that makes them bad. Turks are the main funders of ISIS because they want to dry Mesopotamia rivers for their own land. Yeah, I think that there's a little bit of a larger reason there. It's because America can't directly fund ISIS, and even though, sometimes they'll still do that, but they can't directly seemingly fund ISIS, so they go with their NATO ally in the region. People accusing you of anti-Semitism have nothing to help people combat it. I've been a viewer of both sides, and you are the one who has helped me navigate my feelings towards Judaism, not them. It's crazy how they portray you as the anti-Semite. Yeah, the worst part about it is that, aside from it being a vicious smear, is that it's being entertained by people who know for a fact that I am not. Why does America want to fund ISIS? I don't know. Maybe having an incredibly violent, destabilizing militia in the region is beneficial for their interests. It's the same reason as to why Western powers designed the Arab nation states that we know and understand as full-fledged nation states as ones that are comprised of multiple different ethnicities and religious backgrounds that will constantly be in a state of war with one another so that they are easily undermined and easily dominated. ISIS's interpretation of Sunni Islam is far closer to Saudi Arabia and the UAE's as opposed to Hamas, does not even include Hezbollah/Iran, which are diametrically opposed to ISIS. Yes. That's why it's like ridiculous when post 9/11, they were like, you know who's actually a part of the axis of evil? Iran. And the Iranians were like, what the f do you mean? We're what? 17 Saudi nationals out of the 19 hijackers, led by a Saudi millionaire that was an American asset, does 9/11, and then their number one fighters in the region are also simultaneously a part of this like scheme. They're actually involved in it. What a insane thing to say, but it doesn't matter because Americans are so stupid. They don't understand it at all. Yes, Iran has also consistently, here's the secret side of the story that is not so secret. Iran has consistently given the American state intelligence in combating Al-Qaeda in the region. Yeah. And ISIS as well, yes. What? Didn't you once say you don't think Israeli settlers should get expelled? No one remembers that when they call you anti-Semitic? Yes, because it is infinitely harder to portray me as a anti-Semite that wants to kill all Jews in Israel when you realize that my advocacy revolves around a single secular solitary state. That is why that conversation is never had on those boundaries. When I advocate for a one state, I advocate to give Palestinians rights, okay? But of course, that is a very difficult conversation to navigate if you want to present your opinion as the correct one, okay? It's hard because the reason why you don't believe that that can ever happen is because you secretly believe that all Arabs are barbaric rapist monsters and that if given the opportunity would kill every Jew in Israel. So when you openly say that, because that's your real opinion on why a one-state solution could never happen, okay, people will look at you and go, well, that's some Nazi shit. The rest of the settler babies clip they cut out is literally you explaining that saying run all the Israelis out of the region is harmful for everyone. I know. That's why it's such a insane conversation. And I'm shocked that people still get duped by it. Like, every single argument presented in whenever people talk about my opinions on Israel-Palestine every single one of them is cut in a way to literally make it seem like I'm advocating for the opposite position that I'm actually advocating for. Anyway, I think that there is also a healthy amount of people who are also obviously pro-Israel, and this is their way of, attacking, seemingly almost only attacking pro-Palestinian voices. Some of those voices are actually anti-Semitic, for the record, as I have long maintained and talked about a million times over, but it does not matter. Anyway,